Your bigger guys have got it figured out. Your smaller guys, they're like, man, that just seems way too high, or that sounds too high. No, it's not. It's what it is.
Hey there, it's Ryan Deemer, and you're listening to the Skid Steer Nation podcast, the go-to podcast for insights from business owners in the excavation and land service industry. Today's episode is brought to you by Groundbreaking Growth. It's our exclusive coaching program designed specifically for folks like you who love to get their hands dirty, but are ready to clean up when it comes to profits. If you're working endless hours trying to grow your business, but just can't seem to break through to the next level of profit and efficiencies, it's a common story. It's one that Groundbreaking Growth aims to rewrite. Our program uses the BOSS method: build, organize, sell, and scale to transform your operation from a day-to-day grind into a streamlined, profitable enterprise. We focus on what matters most: building a solid foundation with streamlined operations, creating marketing strategies that actually work in our industry, and scaling your business to support not just your financial goals, but your lifestyle and family too. Imagine ending the cycle of feast or famine, knowing exactly where your next project's coming from and having a team in place to help you carry the load. That's not just a dream. It's what we do at Groundbreaking Growth. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start paving a concrete path to success, visit groundbreakinggrowth.com to learn more and book a free strategy session with me. Mention that you listen to the podcast, and I'll give you an exclusive listener bonus also. Don't let another season pass by without selling the foundation of your success. Visit Groundbreaking Growth and let's build something great together. Guys, today we're going to be joined by Josh Looper from Looper's Excavating and Land Services. He's out in South Carolina. Man, Josh traded in a stable career in the automotive industry for the unpredictable slopes of excavation. We're going to go through his journey, what was the final piece that made the decision easy for him to take the leap, and talk about where he's at today and how he got there. Yeah. So just a quick note, skidsteernation.com. Guys, we sell high quality American made skid steer attachments. So from land leveling to tree pulling, you can find the right attachment to streamline your projects. Visit skidsteernation.com and discover the tools that will take your operation to the next level. Josh, thanks so much for coming on and being on the show today. We're excited to talk with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it.
Yeah. You're upstate South Carolina, correct?
We are. Yes, sir.
Yeah. South Carolina is probably one of my favorite states in the country, man. It's just so gorgeous. You get a mix of everything out there. And
yeah, definitely. Definitely get all the different seasons.
Yeah. And I can't find a better city in the country than Charleston for food.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. So you started doing this just kind of part-time on the side, correct? And then jumped full-time in 2021?
Yep. I had a buddy of mine just kind of, we was goofing off and just talking, and he's like, you ought to buy an excavator and, start clearing some lots or something. And my dad's kind of always been associated with the business, working for other people, whether it's driving dump trucks or doing whatever. And it just never was the path that I took. So I was just looking for some type of escape from, the career that I was in. And I was like, well, this will kind of give me something to do. So that's what I kind of did. And it kind of morphed real quick from being just another hobby to, I had to make a decision, did I want another hobby or did I want a career path? So,
yeah, I think that's the common path a lot of guys take, man. And I find it funny. I always laugh when our buddies say, hey, you should buy an excavator or a skid steer. Yeah. Like we're tossing around 60, 80, 100 grand. Like it's, a pack of bubble gum at the gas station. Like, hey, you should buy some Trident.
Oh, so stressed. So stressed. And the guy that was telling me this, man, he's one of the best human beings that you'll ever meet. And he's just so happy-go-lucky. It's like, oh, it's no big deal. Worst case scenario, they just come and get it from you. I'm like, that would be the end of my world, So, but he's exactly opposite of that. He's just, whatever happens, happens. So
that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Did you buy new or used when you started?
Bought new, went to Cat and couldn't believe they would finance me for $100,000 machine, but they did. And I ended up buying a Cat 306 was my first machine that I bought.
It's a great starting machine. It's a great machine in general. It's so versatile in size and.
Man, it's great. It's really a solid machine. And a guy that does a lot of work with me has a 308, and it's same story. It's just a great solid machine. I mean, it's hard to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. So you initially started this to do land clearing, lot clearing. That was your
Hmm.
vision from day one, not something that you just walked in, not that
Yep.
you figured out along the way.
Yeah, no, we just, he kind of mentioned that to me. So I started looking into it and, like I said, didn't have a clear path and, started putting in culverts and, doing some driveway work, gravel work. And then it started getting a little bigger and a little bigger. And then all of a sudden, I'm kind of like, man, I can't focus on my job at work and keep my customers happy. And that was pretty stressful because I'm really particular about taking care of my customers.
I think that's the biggest differentiator between people that are successful in this industry and not.
Yes,
It's the
absolutely.
customer.
Yep, it is. And I've had this conversation with other people in the car business. It is pounded into your head every day. You take care of the customer, you communicate with the customer, so you've got all of these, a good base to work with. You know what sales are, you know what your numbers are, and you just know how to take care of a customer. And everybody's like, "Oh man, you got so big so quick." And I don't think I'm big at all. I'm just kind of steadily growing, but a lot of that is because I take care of the customer. I communicate and just very straightforward.
Yeah, I tell our team, and we're still working on the process, but if a customer has to call us to get an update on the delivery of his attachment, then we're failing. Like we
Failing.
should be touching them so regularly that they don't need to worry about where it's at. They're, oh, okay, it's behind schedule. It's going to be 2 more weeks. Cool. Thanks for letting me know. Like even if it's
Yeah,
bad news, you gotta communicate.
absolutely. That's 100%. And that was kind of the way I was in the car business. So I was parts and service director for Automotive Group here in the upstate. And yeah, if I had an advisor that, had a customer and they were calling me to get an update, that's a no go. So
Yeah.
just kind of move that on into my business and it's worked. It really has.
Yeah. And you look at the majority of those weekend warriors or the new startup companies, and even some of the ones that have been around a long time. If
Hmm.
you're willing to answer the phone, call people back, and show up when you're supposed to show up, it's really hard to fail right now in the excavation industry.
It is. It is, especially, and I'm guessing it's like this everywhere else, but South Carolina, especially upstate, it's just growing, growing, growing. And there's so much. It's very saturated, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little while later. But there's a lot of competition, but there's plenty of work. There's plenty of work. You just gotta communicate and want it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, let's get back onto your story. I'm really
Yeah.
intrigued by this. So, how long were you doing excavation work while working at the automotive group?
Man, so I ordered that 306 in probably I would say end of April, and it was during COVID, so everything was back ordered. So it ended up coming in, I think, in the end of June. So I did my first job at like early July, and was just doing it on the weekends and doing it at night, and that worked for a little while. Then all of a sudden, it started like I needed to get out and look at jobs. I needed to go do the jobs. I needed to and I kind of experimented with a couple of guys like trying to help me and just do the work and I wasn't satisfied with the work because I'm just way too just precise or anal, I guess, at that time. I've kind of turned loose to those reins now, but so anyway, it's just getting overwhelming. So I couldn't give one 100% and the other one also. So that's what kind of just drove me that direction.
When did you leave the automotive industry and do this
So,
convert full time?
yeah, I kind of lost train of thought there. So, beginning of July, and it started getting crazy right around August, September, and I actually gave them like a 4 week notice to be able to train somebody into my position. So, gave them that in September. So, October 31st was my last day. So, yeah, from July to
Four
October, and
months.
yeah, 4 months. That
Yeah,
was it.
and you've never looked back, right?
Never, yeah, never looked back. There's been times I've thought about it, and I'm like, there is no way in this world I could, I can quit. There's no way. So
Yeah.
I've just kind of kept one foot in front of the other, and that's kind of been my mentality: is if you just refuse to quit, if you just do not quit, I mean, that's a conscious choice you have to make, and if you just don't make that decision, you never quit.
Well, and you and I were talking before we started recording the words "what if." It's the worst words in the language, man, because
Oh
the
man,
last
it
thing you
is.
want to do is 10 years from now, be like, what if I would have stuck with it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And my thing too is I couldn't look my daughters in the face and say, "Oh, chase your dreams, go after it, give it your all." And here I am sitting here just being fat and happy in my little career and something I'm not really wanting to do and never chased my dream. I can't. So I had to do it, one way or the other.
Yeah, that's that's touching, man. I like that. I like that a lot. What did you do for those first 4 months that got you so busy you had to quit the automotive industry? Like, how I'm sure a lot of guys out there are like, I've been in business 4 years and I still struggle to get customers and some consistency. How did you do it in such a short amount of
Yeah,
time?
and I'll be honest with you, I still struggle with the consistency thing. It's something I battle with every single day. But to begin with, there was just so much work here, and the number one thing that helped me was I leveraged Facebook. I started off with nothing, no customer base, no nothing. Just had, good friends that shared my stuff on Facebook, and I was able to work the ads and make the ads work for me. And I swear I had better luck back then than I do now. It seems like the ads don't work as good now,
Yeah.
but back then they were producing. And as long as you were going out and touching that customer and taking care of that customer, it was like, man, I was winning job after job. So that's how I got started, and it just I eventually was able to build a base, and my name got out there, and everybody's like, oh, well, let's use him. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah. And you still, according to what I'm looking up, you still have a limited footprint online. And
Yeah,
you don't have a website, do you?
I don't. I
Yes, I
don't.
didn't think so.
Yeah, yeah. Matter of fact, the last month or so, that's something I've really been thinking about and going to start putting more energy towards. And that's some stuff me and you can talk about as well. But yeah, I definitely need a better footprint online for
Yeah.
sure.
So you leave the automotive industry October 2021. We're sitting
Hmm.
now going into Q2 of 2024. Where's
Hmm.
your business at today? Like, how much machinery do you have? Do you have any employees?
Yeah, so I've got a guy that he's a firefighter, so he kind of works 24 on, 48 off, and so that works out really good. And I've got a guy that can drive the truck from time to time, and I don't really have, so to speak, full-time employees right now. It's just part-time guys, and I do a lot of work with another guy that's very similar in size to me. And so it's me, him. He's got a couple of guys that work for him full time. So we're able to knock some bigger stuff out when we get that kind of work.
So, getting off track of your journey again, and I'm terrible at this, so I apologize in
No, you're
advance.
good.
But the people that I find in the industry that are leveraging partnerships with other excavation companies, whether it's different services or even similar services, I just find that rising tide raises all ships, and they're moving at a faster rate than the ones that are keeping the competition at bay.
Yes, absolutely they are. And that was I really think that was a game changer for me and my company was knowing that I was not as experienced as a lot of other guys. So I knew going in when I quit my job at the dealership, I knew I was going to have to pay for some education. And by that I mean I'm going to have to split some jobs with some other guys. And I've always had the approach, even in the car business. Thankfully, I had some amazing bosses and mentors in the car dealership that guided me in the right direction. But I want to be a service to you. There's a guy right up the street from me. Him and his brother's got a big outfit with, multiple pieces of equipment, trucks. And I've always just wanted to be of service to guys like him. What can I do to you to help you out? And it's just worked out. I mean, he's given me work. I've helped him out. He helps me out. And, Donnie is the other guy that I was talking about that I do a lot of work with. Man, just when it comes to the dirt side, he's great. And I knew that was my weakness. And so we work very well together.
Yeah. And you mentioned something in that right there in that last sentence that really resonates with me. And I think a lot of guys need to get this pounded in their head. Stop calling people asking if they have any work for you and start
Right.
asking them, what problems do you have and how can I help you solve them?
Absolutely. That's the biggest thing. Cause I've got guys now that call me and are like, hey, if you've got any work, let me know, if you can't handle it all. Well, okay, I get that, but what can you do for me? And that's the mindset I've always had is how can I serve you? How can I take care of a problem that you have and it benefit us both? And it's really worked out. And I've got some really good guys around me. There's some not so great people, in the business around here, but for the most part, man, there's some really good people around here.
Yeah. But if you're trying to build a network and leverage other businesses or even deal with realtors or anyone
Hmm.
in your market, you should be
That's right.
asking them what problems they have and then
Yes.
finding a solution to those problems.
Yeah. I mean, that's the basis of all business, honestly, is finding a problem and offering a solution.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's been a big thing for me. And that's really worked out and helped me a lot.
That's fantastic, man. What's the vision for the excavation company moving forward? Are you content where you're at? Like you're at your level of happiness, or are you wanting to grow into more crews, employees?
No, I wonder where that plateau is at. I've just never found that being content. I've just never found it, even, from the car business all the way to this. And I thought I would have found it by now with this, but I'm not. I just want to keep getting bigger. Um, and so that's kind of where I'm at. Right now we've got an 85G, a 333G, tandem axle dump truck, 20-ton trailer, and I've got a PC 170. And I just want to keep growing from there. I would really like to move into. You had a guy on here the other day that kind of made a really good point. And it may have been you that said it. There's riches and niches, and I believe that 100%. And so we offer land clearing, grading, dirt work, demolition, forestry, mulching. We offer all these different services, and I feel like we're just very barely taking care of all of them. I want to focus more on. We do a lot of demolition work. I would love to focus on just demolition and just land clearing. Just I want to get more focused on one or two things and really pump my energy into those.
You will watch your business skyrocket if you do that.
Yep. I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that.
And the way I always drive that point home to people is when's the last time a customer called a septic excavation company to fix a driveway or remove a tree? Tell me
Right.
they don't have the right equipment to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But
Yep.
they're the septic industry. That's what they do.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
And
right.
you can't be a jack of all trades and then be looked at as a master.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now because I just feel like it would provide more consistency. I feel like I could offer a better product to the customer and just overall just grow the business. And that's my mindset and my goal is to get more focused on the demolition work and more focused on the land clearing.
I think it'd be a great move for you. And a lot of the guys that I talk to on a weekly basis, they're really worried about niching down and turning
Yeah.
customers away. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, listen, if your schedule's open, it doesn't mean you can't go do that job.
That's right.
It just means we're not going to brand your business or spend advertising dollars on other services than your two core services.
Yes, that's exactly right. And the best example that I guess really opened my eyes to that was I went and bought a skid steer a couple of years ago and ended up getting a mulcher with it. And it was the worst decision I've ever made in my life because whether you're running that mulcher on that machine or you're not, the payment's still the same. Cost is basically still the same, other than just you're not tearing the knives up. But yeah, man, it's just I wish I'd have never got into that portion of it. And so yeah, I want to get more focused and more specific on where I want to head.
Yeah. Do you have anything mapped out or any game plan to achieve that this next 12 months or anything?
Yeah, we're working pretty close with a larger company that did a lot of demolition work in previous years. His business model is changing. He's moving more focused on the cans and dumpsters, and and he's actually been kind of moving his office staff to give my number out, or he'll text me, or he'll call me, email me plans, whatever, and say, "Hey, we've got this demo, that demo." So that's a big part of moving more into the demolition. And we've been able to get with a company that does our asbestos abatement, our asbestos testing. So we can offer that. And there's a lot of the smaller guys that just can't offer that. They don't have the contacts.
Yeah. And it really, I think demolition, especially as a service, you need to have a really strong network.
Yes.
Like in our area, there's companies here that are, they own the recycling facility. They own and the cost they can do a demo because they're going to turn the product into a profit on the back end. Like a guy like you can't break into the market unless you make it your sole
Yep.
service.
Yep. And we were talking about early, I didn't really have any kind of foundation to jump off of. I just started this thing out of thin air. But as I've moved more into the demolition side, I do have a contact that's really been helpful. And he, like you said, he's got his own recycle yard. He does their own mulch. He's got a crusher, grinder, and he has all of his cans, so he can do demos really cheap. And so now he kind of offers some of those services to me so that I can offer the demos at a better price. So he's been a blessing to our company for sure.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, leveraging the network. And let me get your thoughts on this. I'm seeing what I don't care if it's what industry it is, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, lawn care, excavation. These guys that are in their late 50s, early 60s, they don't have an exit strategy.
No.
And they don't see their business as a valuable business to sell. They just see the assets that they can sell at an auction.
Right.
And if you can go out and find one of those guys and like kind of tie to the hip with them, just like what you did, he'll start sending the business to you because there's nobody in the family and he has no plan to get out.
Right. And man, a lot of these guys genuinely want to help you. They see that you've got the drive. They kind of, I guess, see themselves in you a little bit, and they see you got that fire in your belly and you're ready to succeed, and they want to help you. There's guys out there that want to, mentor you and lead you in the right direction. So but like that goes back to what I said earlier. You've got to find out what you can do to be of service to them. You know, that's the trick. Network and service to somebody.
Yeah, Josh, I always tell people if you go to a networking event and you never say any statements about yourself or your business and all you do is ask questions about them and their business,
yes,
you will leave the most liked guy in the room.
Yep.
100 out of 100 times.
Yep, absolutely. 100%.
People love talking about themselves.
Absolutely they do. Absolutely they do. And I learned that early on in the car business. I started out as a diesel tech, as a teenager years ago and just kept progressing and ended up being parts and service director. And that's where I figured it out. People love to talk about themselves. And if you're going to sit there and listen and you ask probing questions and keep them going, man, they love you. And you can gain a wealth of knowledge like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you go do an estimate at a residential home and the lady is a single lady and you're talking to her and she's got a dog and you start asking her questions about the dog and you get more questions about the dog, she's like, oh, I love this guy. I want him to do the work.
Yeah. It's absolutely. There's a guy who wrote a book for the service industry, as far as the car business, and it's called Pet the Dog. And it's basically they pull up in the service drive and you go out there and you just say, hey, come on in, and you take their order and you're gone. Well, you didn't walk around their car. You didn't inspect their car. You didn't build any rapport with them. You didn't ask them about their bumper sticker or their favorite college team that they had on there. And, he said his wife had taken the dog to the vet, and the vet's come in and said, yep, we'll do the surgery next week. Walk back out of the room. We never pet the dog. And she's like, I don't want that guy touching my dog. And so it's the same thing. You got to pet the dog. You got to build that rapport with the customer.
I love that. I'm going to steal Pet the Dog. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how's business been for you this year? I mean, I can't get a handle on if the economy is just getting a little tighter and people are a little more cautious, or if the guys I talk to just don't have any processes in place to find more work.
Yeah, it seemed a little slower for me. So we picked up a builder towards the end of last year that's doing not quite full-blown tract homes, but they'll go in and do 15, 20 homes in a subdivision. So that kept us busy through a good bit of the winter, and that we finished that up in roughly January, the end of that. And it's been slow starting off this year for me anyway. Between the weather and just being slow, it's been a grind so far.
So
So
I
I've
want to
got to
ask
work
you,
and
I want to
out.
ask you one question off that.
Yeah.
While you were doing all those homes,
Hmm.
were you still investing in networking, marketing, and branding, or were you so focused on the work you didn't do that?
So yes, that's what happens. And I have been the king of doing that. I will market, I will network, I will just grind. And I get busy. All of last year, I didn't hardly run an ad on Facebook because I was so busy. And then all of a sudden, towards the end of the year, it's like I'm starting to slow down, and I should have been maintaining that, and I didn't. So I that was a hard lesson to learn, but I definitely learned it, and I will not make that mistake again. Even when you're busy and you're wide open, you've still got to maintain that. You've still got to run ads. You still got to be having your name out there.
Yep, you've got it because you got to stay top of mind.
Yep, you got to, because you will go to the bottom. And I tell you what kind of piqued my interest was my wife had come home. She's like, so and so said they hadn't seen your ads on Facebook lately, and I was like, yeah, that's because I haven't done any. So that's a problem. So they may not need any work, but someone they know may need some work. And if I'm at the top of their list and they're seeing my ads, then they're going to mention my name. So yeah,
Hmm.
we've definitely gotten better about doing that this year.
Yeah. Um, yeah, because I see that, boy, just about with everybody I talk with, they go through that roller coaster ride of highs and lows. And
Yes,
at the end root of it, it's, well, I didn't need to advertise because I was busy. And I'm like, well, you're not advertising for today. You're advertising for 90 days from now.
that's exactly right.
Like
That's
everything
exactly.
you're doing in your business, mine too. Like we set
Mm-hmm.
90-day goals. Like we don't do 1 year
Mm-hmm.
goals. We set 90-day goals because
Yes.
you can stay focused for 90 days to achieve those goals.
Yep.
But like,
Absolutely.
like when I sat down and spent 30 hours in November going page by page of the website, changing all the back end SEO, trying to make it look better for Google.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for January, February moving forward. And our
Yep.
website traffic is, I was just looking at this morning, our website traffic has almost doubled organically since
Yeah.
November because of that work.
Awesome. Yeah, and you're 100% correct. 100%. And in the excavation business, whether it's demolition, clearing, whatever, you'll go quote a job, and it's going to be 3 to 6 months before you ever hear from that person again, before they're ready. A lot of times.
Yep.
So yeah, that's been a big thing for us. Got to stay on track for that.
Yeah. And then do you have any way of maintaining a relationship with that customer that you're waiting 3 to 6 months on?
So I don't have I would say a way other than just I utilize calendar and my notes and just all those tools for myself to send those reminders out. Usually about once a week, I'll go through my estimates and I'll send reminder emails out. I've got a customer right now that I quoted back the end of last year, and it's to the point where it's about every 30 days. I'll email them, hey, just touching base with you, following up with you. Let me know if you need anything, need any help. So I try to do a good job at that, but I would love to get to the spot where I've got somebody or a program that automatically follows up with those customers.
Yeah. But you're 99% ahead of the competition because most guys, they give the quote, they might call once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
And then
Within that week.
then they wait for the customer to call them.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
don't, I mean,
That.
we
Yep.
implemented a minimum 5 call framework on any estimate that went out with my friend's pressure washing business. They were here locally,
Mm-hmm.
asked me for some help.
Right.
His revenue doubled.
Yep.
And we looked at the data. Most of the customers agreed to the estimate on either the fourth or the fifth phone call
Yep.
because they got the kids at the sporting games, or you called in the middle of dinner, or they had a fire emergency at work and
Yeah.
you were not
Absolutely.
priority today.
Yeah. You never know. And I always relate everything back to the car business, but even the car business, I would have customers, they come in, they get their oil changed, we do an inspection, we try to sell them on something they need. Let's say their brakes are in the red, and they're literally riding around metal to metal. That customer will ride around for the next 30 days metal to metal. So my advisors, they always kept a copy of the repair order, and we always flagged it in the CRM. And every week, if they weren't doing anything, writing a customer up, I had them calling their customers. Hey, just seeing if you had that done. Let us know if we can help you. Blah, offer them a coupon, offer them something. And man, that's how we really grew the service departments for that automotive group was following up with our customers. That was
Yep.
huge.
Yeah. And, the common answer is I just don't have time. I'm in the field working from this time to that time. I'm like, yeah, but you're driving to that job. You're driving to get lunch. You're driving home. Like
Yep.
stack those tasks together. Like make 5 phone
Yep.
calls on that 30-minute drive to the project.
Yeah, you have to. Like there was yesterday, I had to take my daughter to a doctor's visit, and whole way there, I was on the phone. Whole way from there to the job site, I was on the phone. And yeah, you've got to utilize every single minute of your day, or you will
Mm-hmm.
get overwhelmed really fast.
I'm curious, do you have, and I'm just going to use the word boundaries, but like, have you set any boundaries around your business so that you have committed family and personal time?
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. I mean, if generally speaking, from 7 in the morning until 6 in the evening, that's my work time. Um, and anything after that, I'm gonna follow up with you the next day, unless it's just a 911, because that was one of the biggest reasons I got out of the car business was I wanted more time with my family. I wanted more time with my kids, and I just didn't. I work more now than I ever did in the car business, but I have that flexibility now. I can go pick my kid up. I'll go pick her up today from school. Before that, I'd probably picked her up once in the last 6 years, and it's because the car business demanded so much of me. So I work more now, but I have more flexibility, and I do have better quality time with my family now. But if you don't set those boundaries, it will get wrecked, and your relationships will suffer.
Yep. We just talked about that the other day. This guy was saying his phone always rings on Sundays.
Yeah,
And I'm
no,
like, don't answer it. Send him a text message. Got your
yep,
voicemail. Call you on Monday.
that's exactly right. And I've talked to guys, their nerves get so shot if they don't handle that right then. And I'm like, listen, if that customer is demanding that of you on a Sunday, you don't want that customer. I'll just tell you, it's going to be a headache because I've had customers like that, and they're like, I need you out here right now. This has got to be done. And it's not even an emergency, it's something we can handle tomorrow morning. Don't deal with that. Don't even, if I've got a customer who's like, well, I need you to be out here Sunday to go over this. No, unless it's a special circumstance, that's not happening.
Yeah. And a majority of them, I'm going to bet are just like, hey, I had a question about this, or I was thinking,
Yeah,
and if you just recognize them and say, hey, I got your message. I'll call you Monday when I'm
that's
back
right.
in the office. They'll say, no problem. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
And you can go about enjoying your day.
Absolutely you can. And a lot of guys, they struggle with where to find time in the day. And I tell you, if you just get your butt out of bed, if you just beat the sun out of bed, you will have that time and you will be more productive from 5 to 7 than any other point in the day. Just get out of bed and start handling some things right then. You'll be amazed at how great your day goes.
So yeah, my team doesn't come to work until 9 a.m. our time.
Mm-hmm.
With the time change now, it's 9 to 5. It's usually 8 to 4, but I don't make them
Right.
change their hours.
Right.
From 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., I am literally a machine at the computer.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I do all my deep work from 7 to 9
Yep. Absolutely it is.
because
Yep.
once you think you're like, well, I'll sit down to do estimates at 1 o'clock after this morning job, and the phone rings, the emails come in, the wife
Oh
need,
yeah.
and then so I had it was like you just got to find either early in the day or late in the day, and late in the day usually mentally shot, so I go right back to early in the day. Anything that needs attention, focus, creativity, do it while you're fresh without interruptions.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, my buddy Austin, I just saw him. He posted on X, Twitter. He was up late last night doing estimates. And I'm
Yeah.
like, hope you didn't make any mistakes. Like,
Right. That's
this
what it's
dude
going
gets
to
up at like
happen.
4:30 in the morning and he's cranking work and he never misses the gym. He's a machine, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, awesome, man. God, I feel like we could talk just about anything.
Yeah, man.
Do you want to talk a little bit about niching down into some businesses and some ways to improve your business with that? Would that be beneficial
Yeah.
to you?
Yeah. Beneficial to me for sure. Like I said earlier, you know, demolition is a demolition, I feel like is a very profitable industry. It can be. And I don't know. So my biggest issue when I come into this full time, I would be so frustrated at the pricing, especially when it comes to grading or land clearing. You've got guys out here that are all over the board. They have no idea what their cost is. They're not working from cost. They're just throwing a number against the door. For instance, I priced a lot yesterday. It was clearing a lot and hauling off the brush and digging a basement. And I think everything said and done was like 28 and some change. And I get told by the customer today, the guy priced it at $15,000. And there's no way that we can be $15,000 off from each other. There's something missing, or he's just, he's renting the equipment and he's hoping he can make his $20 an hour that he would make at a regular job. I don't know. But that was my biggest frustration in this business. And it doesn't seem like it's changed much in the last few years. But demolition work, it seems like more people know what they're doing on the numbers side of it. And you can make good money. You can make fair money.
I agree with you. And if you're doing those services and you're running into those problems where pricing, I don't know how to overcome a $15,000 to $28,000 difference.
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't know that I
But
could build enough value in it to sell the customer.
that's what I'm getting at, right? But most guys here, like they do a single line item, lot clear, debris removal, $28,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got to fill that estimate with. Here's what I tell everybody: if you go to McDonald's and order a number 4, don't order a number 4. Order a double quarter pounder with cheese, a large fry, and a large Diet Coke. Like lay out all the things you do in that estimate, so that when they see all these steps, there's no questions. Yep. Oh, this is valuable. Oh, I like that he's going to do it this way.
Yep.
And then at the same point, that number at the bottom looks smaller because all those line items have a value.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree with you completely. So that's one of the reasons, and we enjoy doing demolition work. So those two things kind of just keep pushing us that direction. And like I said, it's better money. It's more profitable side of the business.
Mm-hmm. How are you getting demo work now? Is it just people calling you randomly? Or are you working with specific builders?
People calling. Yeah. So I've got, we've got a couple of construction GC guys that will call us now. We've built relationships with them over the last couple of years. The big company that I was telling you about earlier, he pushes work my way, and I've kind of redone the way we do our Facebook ads, because it was like we just got in this weird groove where all of a sudden we're just getting all these bot messages all the time. So I completely changed all my ads, completely changed the wording, the images, everything. And that seems to have changed a lot. We're getting better leads. And so we're still getting leads coming in from that are more geared towards demo. So it's that's how we're doing it right now.
That's awesome. Have you made relationships with like the county and city inspectors?
Yeah, we have. That's a tough part of the demo business for some reason, because you've got a lot of out of state guys that will come down here and do it really cheap for some reason. I guess they're doing volume versus, what we're doing. But yeah, for some reason, getting in with the counties and the local governments are a little more difficult to get their demos.
Well, and I wasn't talking about getting the county's demo. I was talking about the inspectors that are saying, hey, that property's needs to be demolished.
Yes, absolutely.
Here's Josh's number. Call him.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm a huge fan, and like you've been in the car industry. I'm a huge fan of leveraging other people's time to make money.
To make money. Yep, absolutely.
Man, 100%. Like we look at Google Business Profile. I'll spend 4 hours on that and make it perfect, because after it's done, I don't have to touch it.
Yep.
It's a one and done for most part. Update here and there. I'll network the heck out of people, because I want everyone telling everybody, hey, you need an attachment, call Ryan or go to visit his store. Because I want that machine humming from all avenues. I don't want to have to be doing it all myself.
Right.
Which goes back to the way you partner with those other businesses and getting in with that guy. Like you're leveraging your network and you're seeing the benefits of it.
Yeah, I don't see how you could really make good growth quick without networking and without just being of service to other people. I just don't see how you can do it. I mean, I'm sure you can do it. It's going to be tough. It's going to be real, real tough.
No, absolutely. But I'm like, speaking of networking, it kind of leads into marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I, I find that I go through phases. Like at one phase, I'm like all in on digital. Like, don't worry about nothing else, just digital, online,
Mm-hmm.
online. It's where everybody goes. And then next breath, I'm like, we got to get back to the old school, tried and true. So
Yeah.
like right now, I've been geeking out, and I've actually got a meeting tomorrow to see if we could do some sort of a collaboration together. But I'm my gut just tells me that getting back to the old school yard signs and some precise direct mailers
Yeah. It's
is going
funny
to
you
be
say that because
huge for this
we have had a
industry.
bunch of yard signs made, here in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
So I'm going to start getting back on that train too. The missing part of my business, I feel like, has always been like, how do I get those contractors? How do I get to those bigger jobs? You know what I mean? How do I find those jobs? And it somehow they find me. I just don't think it's quite as much as what I would like for them to find me.
yeah.
So that goes back to my online presence. I got to get a website, and I've got Facebook pretty figured out. What I don't have figured out is the SEO and all of that for Google and all the search engines. I just feel like I'm missing the boat on some of that.
You absolutely are. In fact, the guys locally here, they got calls from out of state companies that were installing solar farms.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, how did you hear about it? It's like, well, we just Googled excavation companies in your area and you were number one. And we looked at your website
Yep.
and we think you could handle the job.
Yep. That's exactly right. And I've focused on it, for the last couple of years. Not really focused on it, but just kind of skimmed it and make sure I was taking care of the basics. And if you Google demo where I'm sitting at right now, I'm probably going to be number one or number two. But once you get out of my zip code or my area, it seems like if you get over into Greenville or Spartanburg, the bigger cities, I'm down here at the bottom. I'm down here like 10th on the list instead
And
of
then you have
second.
no website to increase credibility.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
I mean, as a consumer, when I find a business online and their website is their Facebook profile,
Yep.
like it makes me wonder, is it
Yep. I
part
agree with
time?
you.
Is it this? Is it,
Yep.
I may not read a lot of the website, but at least I know they're invested into a real business.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100%. And that
Yeah.
really is true for your other companies that are looking to sub out work to you. I
Yep.
feel like that's very true with them. They don't want some fly by night Facebook guys doing this part time. They need someone they can count on. So yeah, that's a big deal for us. We've got to really work on.
Yeah. Cause you've been growing that network with your boots on the ground.
Yep.
And,
Absolutely.
A, keep doing it, but B, how do we leverage some other avenues
Yep.
to get some networking opportunities?
That's right.
You start talking about those larger companies, like you might have to have a whole different mindset and do some connections on LinkedIn for
Hmm.
networking versus marketing,
Yep.
you know, because those guys, for whatever reason, like the bigger the companies, it just everything kind of migrates over to LinkedIn.
It does. Yep. It does.
You
Sure
know,
does.
what else, man? Anything else on your mind?
No, man, I don't think so. I think we touched on most everything, Like I said, it's been great. I cannot complain about where I'm at whatsoever. I've met some great people, got some great friends, and they've all just been a blessing, and we've grown, and there's definitely we're kind of to the point where we're running into some plateaus or to some walls maybe. And I think the next step is getting into focusing on a niche, building a website, and really just focusing on getting those bigger jobs.
Yeah. And I had to do this for myself. I had to create a calendar daily and weekly so I
Hmm.
wouldn't forget because I had to train myself to do the little things every day
Yeah.
or every week.
Yeah. It's so easy to get off track and get back into that grind. You know what I mean? And I want to get to the point where I'm not working in the business. I want to be working on the business. And that's a struggle sometimes to get out of. I mean,
It
it's just
is.
especially when you're starting out. Man, it's so easy to just get trapped right back into that machine or right back into that dump truck driving and making things happen. But then what are you really making happen? You got that job done, but have you grown your business? Have you,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah. And it's, did have, did you write out a list of questions and put them in your truck so that every time you get a phone call, you can make sure you really discover the customer's pain points and problems?
right.
You're
Yep.
like, no, I didn't have time for that. I had to work. And I'm like, well, make an hour, but it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So
It
we
is.
avoid it.
Yep. That's exactly right.
you know,
That's exactly right.
but once it's done, it's done.
Yep.
So a lot of that stuff in there. So yeah, that's great advice. And then the last thing that you kind of talked about, and I wanted to get your thoughts on, was the financials. Knowing the numbers and getting real granular with that. And
Yes.
obviously coming from automotive, you guys were number driven.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I definitely knew what a, P&L was before I ever opened my own business. And there's a lot of guys that they don't know what a profit and loss statement is. They couldn't read a financial statement if it was right in front of them.
Yeah. What advice do you have for people that kind of struggle with that financial side of their business?
Man, use YouTube if you're going. I mean, nothing else. Get on YouTube and get a grasp of what your numbers are. What does it cost you every day to run your business? What does it cost you, bare bones, and build your pricing from there. Don't go out and say, "Oh, what should I be charging for this machine or that machine?" You figure that out. What's your cost, and figure the difference out between, markup, versus whatever, you know what I mean, like know what a gross profit margin is versus just a gross profit percentage, and figure your numbers out, know what you need to do to make a good profit, to make a good living. We didn't get in this thing to just break even, right? We got in it to make money.
Yeah, we
So
don't
you're
want a
never going
job
to
with
make
just a
money.
lot of expenses.
That's right. You're never going to make money if you don't know what your numbers are. So
Yeah.
figure out what your numbers are, educate yourself, get on, instead of watching tractor videos all day on YouTube, get out there and watch some financial stuff, and for God's sakes, get you a CPA. You'll sleep
Yeah.
better once you get a good CPA.
Yeah. And again, use YouTube, leverage your friends, other business owners,
Yep.
learn what questions to ask so you find the right CPA for you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
You see too many
And that,
guys like, oh, you're an accountant? Cool. You want to do my books?
right. Yeah. No interview process, no getting to know you, no nothing. Yep.
Nothing.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. But yeah, knowing the right answer or the right questions to ask too, man. Just ask all the questions. Get all the answers that you can get. Don't be afraid to, some guys they're afraid of looking dumb or, because we're in an industry where there's some big bad guys out there. You know what I mean? Like there's some guys been in it for years, they know what they're doing, and you're kind of intimidated by them. But
Well,
nine
guess
times out of
what?
10, they'll help you out.
Guess what? They were in your shoes at one point in their business and they asked the same questions to somebody else.
That's exactly right.
They
That's
weren't born
exactly
with the knowledge.
no, not at all. Not at all.
So, no, they were not. Yeah, I think the financials is you see too many guys wait until they do their taxes to figure out if they made any money last year.
Yeah, yeah, and they don't know where they're at right now. I mean, you should be able to know where you're at right now. Basically, I mean, you've got to be setting goals. You got to be knowing where you're at. So, and a lot of guys they don't. They're just hoping they throw something against the wall and hope they made enough money to pay the bills at the end of the month.
Yeah.
And man, that's a tough way to go about it.
Hmm.
Tough way.
Yeah, we spent the whole winter with a local excavation company that does septics, and we just got real granular on their costs, their
Hmm.
operating expenses, the wages that they're going to make, plus the back end
Yeah,
taxes, and to be like, hey, this is how much money it costs you every hour the two of you
yeah.
step foot out of the office.
And don't be scared. I mean, that number is going to be what it's going to be. It just is what it is. Don't sell out of your back pocket. Just because you think it's too high or you couldn't afford it doesn't mean that customer can't afford it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
stop selling out of your back pocket.
there's so many people are like, stop saving other people's money because
Yeah.
like don't.
Yeah. Be fair, give them a fair price and be honest, be trustworthy, but you're there to make a profit. And I
Yeah,
feel like there's some guys, and especially the smaller guys, obviously, because your bigger guys have got it figured out. Your smaller guys, they're like, man, that just seems way too high, or that sounds too high. No, it's not. It's what it is. You
hmm
don't go to Walmart and negotiate on their price. You just don't.
yeah, and
So,
I tell everybody we work with that if you're running into budget issues or payment expenses, don't
mhm,
devalue the work, change the scope of work.
that's right.
Okay,
Yep.
you can't afford the whole package. Let's do it in phases to fit your budget. We'll do this
Yes.
section first, this next, and then in a year and from now we can finish but
Yeah,
don't
I can't tell you how
devalue the
many jobs
work.
I have won by doing that exact thing. Go in and price a job, and it's $75,000, and I'm like, hey, look, we don't have to do this whole thing at one time. Let's look at your timeline. Let's look at our schedule, and let's do this thing in phases and get it knocked out. And man, I've had some really good customers that I've got great relationships with because they felt like I looked out for them and helped them out by offering that.
Yep. And you also didn't devalue your service.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Because if you say, well, 75 grand, well, I can do it for 68 for you. Their first thought is, I bet we can get them to
Yeah,
60.
why'd you have it marked that high to begin with?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
exactly.
Now the
Yeah,
number is what
I
the
will
number
not
is.
do it.
Change the scope of work.
Yep, absolutely. 100%.
So,
Don't ever devalue your work, and build as much value into it as you can, and sell it on the value. Be proud and be confident in what you're offering the customer.
yep. Well, Josh, I think you've got a great vision for yourself and your business. You know what steps you need to take. And I'm sure the pain of not having certain things is starting to get strong enough that you're actually going to take action on them.
Yeah,
Because let's
that's
be
exactly
honest, nobody does anything until we get uncomfortable, until the pain's hard
that's
enough.
right. Yep, that's
Like I didn't go
exactly
to the
right.
gym when I was skinny.
That's right. That's right.
But getting focused on a few core services, getting really good at explaining that, and you've got all the skill sets, the tools to do it, getting that presence online. I think you're going to I think you'll be able to grow faster than you think when you start nailing that stuff in.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So that's the key takeaway. If you're listening to the episode this long, guys, riches are in the niches. Stop being a jack of all trades.
Absolutely.
Can't say it loud enough. Well, man, thanks so much for joining us on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you reached out and got me on. It's been
Yeah,
fun.
me too. I say it all the time. It's my favorite part of the week is getting to sit down and just have a great conversation with another business owner. Cause I don't know about
Yeah.
you, but my circle of friends, it's hard to talk business because they all have jobs.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And man, there's so many people out there that are listening to your podcast that you'll never know listen to your podcast that it's helping. So I mean, I love it, man. It's great. It's great for guys coming into the business, and it's great for guys that have been here for a long time. So keep doing it, man. I love
I
it.
really appreciate that, man. Yeah, I get a message every now and then from somebody or something on Facebook or this. But guys, if you're listening and you've gotten value out of it, I'm actually going to put my email address in the show notes. Just shoot me a
Hmm.
message. It makes my day. It's the whole reason we do this is to lift everybody up, make
Yeah,
them better with
absolutely.
themselves. Because if we're more confident in our business, we're going to be more confident in our relationships. We're going to be more confident in
Yep,
our own personal self, and then our whole life as a whole gets better just
absolutely
by
it does.
lifting one area of our life. So
Yep. And I can't tell you how many times I felt, alone in this journey that I'm on. And then all of a sudden you hear other guys like Kai that you interviewed here
yeah,
the other day. Some of the struggles that he went through, I'm like, man, I went through that same exact thing, or whoever it may be. And it's, when you have something like this to be able to listen to, you realize I'm not the only one experiencing this. There's other people going through the same exact thing.
yeah. Everybody that owns a business is going through the same type of
Absolutely.
problems. The details may be
Absolutely.
different, but the cash crunch is the cash crunch. The lack
Yeah.
of leads is the lack of leads.
Yep.
It's all relatable. So yeah, we're not alone in this for sure. So um appreciate that feedback, man. That makes me feel good.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
my time investment into this is valued based on the results or the feedback I get from the guys. Like we don't make a profit from
Right.
producing a podcast. It's all out of pocket expense, but I just feel compelled to do it.
Man, yeah, keep doing it. I think it's a good thing. Keep
Awesome,
doing it.
man. Well, I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, if you ever need anything from us or from me, uh, phone call, text away. And even if you want to run ideas by it, because we all can't see the forest through the trees in our own business sometime.
Yep, absolutely. I
So
agree.
cool. Well, guys, if you're listening to this and got some value out of it, like I said, the email will be down in the show notes. If you're in a stage in your business that you're struggling, just go check out groundbreakinggrowth.com. You're going to have a call with me, not somebody else. Even if we don't work together, I 100% guarantee you will walk away with action items that will make you a better business owner. So until next week, guys, stay gritty.